I felt compelled to act. That's what made, I didn't want to write the book. That's what made me write the book. That was one of the kind of tipping points that said, I have to write this book.
First time I heard you explain that technology is naturally deflationary and this natural deflationary tendency of technology butting heads, as you said, with the inflationary nature of our monetary policy. Even though I thought myself fairly deep down the Bitcoin rabbit hole at that point, that sent me on this whole other journey where I said, my God, okay, like many good ideas, it's very obvious in retrospect, but it's non-obvious until somebody points it out to you. And I know for a lot of people, I saw from some of when I posed the question on Nostr of what do you want to hear about from Jeff Booth? Somebody was saying, the price of tomorrow is what basically orange pilled me. So I think for so many people, hearing that simple phrase that technology is deflationary, and then asking the next necessary question, which is, okay, if technology is deflationary, why does everything keep getting more expensive? Why, when we have increasing efficiency on assembly lines and more automation, why do so many basic things keep getting pricier? And of course, you've got flat screen TVs and things which people love to point to and say, well, look, they're getting cheaper, but the vast majority of things are not. When did you have that realization? Because I think it's a great place to start for even pre-coiners, but when did you have that realization about technology and figure out that if you put it into that package with the butting heads of inflationary money versus deflationary technology, that was going to be such a potent combination for people to really go to another level of understanding?
So I would say it was that insight that led me to Bitcoin. Not that I wasn't interested in Bitcoin, not that I wish I didn't get it before, but it was that insight that led me to Bitcoin, not the other way around. So I wasn't trying to defend Bitcoin with my thesis. I was trying to openly try to question, because what ends up happening, you've heard me say this thousands of times, you can't measure a system from a system. Like you can't see the unknown. So a fish doesn't know they're in water, right? So if it's true that technology is deflationary, and everybody knows it is, but they only see it in certain things, and those certain things, it's because the marginal cost of production is dropping so fast on those things that it's overwhelming the other things. But technology is across everything. So it's not like we don't have technology in energy. It's not like in oil production and oil distribution. We have technology across the board. So all these things should be falling in price as well, just at different rates. And so when kind of going back to what you asked, that was a 10-year journey for me. I would be talking about it all the time. And I couldn't find, but I was running a business as well. So inside my business, you're so focused on the business, but the first technology we built, a logistics automation software, cost $5 million, approximately $5 million to create, 40 odd developers to create. 5-7 years later, it was free and it was way better than the technology we'd built. So you could see it, and so the question I had is, if technology is a base layer of everything, or on one side of things, entrepreneurs are trying to create value for society, and they're using tools to create value at crazy rates, and then we use those tools that give us more value. How could that process not be deflationary? Because it would only be inflationary over a long term is if we chose things that gave us less value. So I couldn't understand what that was, and that led me to investigate how the existing financial system was wired globally, how the whole thing worked, and that led me to right, and then realizing what it would mean for society is everybody didn't understand that they were on an unstable system. They were on a system based on theft, and it would get worse and worse. And the only way to essentially resolve the conflict from the system is go to war, and divide society. So I saw that, and then so I was looking for a path away from that, a path that would be the opposite. And and my first, even before I wrote the book, actually probably what compelled me to write the book, a couple of different things. I was talk about if you were a friend of mine at a campfire, guitar or a campfire, or having some drinks, you wouldn't want to be a friend of mine anymore because it was all I was talking about for years. And but nobody could give me answers, and I went to and one of the central bankers in Canada at the time, where I was on Business Council of Canada, top companies in Canada, and I was just very, very privileged closed door meeting, about 30 of us, Manulife CEO, others, but Royal Bank CEO, and I posed this question, and he said, "What would you have us do?" And I realized, and I don't normally swear, but I would say, the people in charge of the rules have no clue, and it's going to and that's going to, and my children are not going to grow up in the same with the same chances of what the world that I grew up in, and it's going to look, this is going to be a really ugly situation. So I felt compelled to act. That's what made, I didn't want to write the book. That's what made me write the book. That was one of the kind of tipping points that said, I have to write this book. And then, and then through that, even at the end of the book, Bitcoin was a paragraph. It was a potential solve. And I had already owned Bitcoin, but I didn't want to bias the view to Bitcoin at that time. And I probably hadn't done enough research myself to make sure that to understand that it was the only path out, or was the most likely path out, the best path, the best bridge away from the system we were in, because the system couldn't change itself. It had to be transformed from the outside. And so as I did more and more work on that, and tried to disprove my hypothesis, and try to disprove my thinking around Bitcoin, I became more sure. And essentially, I just reduced my probabilities of Bitcoin failure from, at that time, 5%, 6% to now 0.1%. But I'm still constantly, we can talk about what I see, the only potential at sometime in this, but and maybe I'll simplify it. I'll go up a level first, and I'll simplify it. If the marginal cost of production trends towards zero, which is true, economists know that is. It's why your calculator app on your phone is free. It's why the air you're breathing is free. It's why. So if that's true, and we have exponentially increasing technology, which is also true, productivity and technology, which is also true, then the only thing that could measure that would be something that had a fixed number of units and money. So, but what if you were measuring by the existing system? What you would think would be happening is Bitcoin price would be going up with volatility. What's actually happening is it's measuring all prices falling to the marginal to zero from Bitcoin. So it's measuring that, and it'll measure that with a lag, whether it's deflationary or inflationary. It'll just look different. But if Bitcoin is repricing the entire world, it's not the other way around. And you can see this. You can see this in Argentina. You can see this in Turkey. You can see it right now. So, but people are so sure of their existing piece of paper that they don't see it. So then, if what I just said is true, then the only risk of that actually happening, whatever it might take time, as the world starts to understand this, might take a longer time. There might be a whole bunch of rug pulls on the way, as some people think they can leverage against this, and debt gets unwound into the new system. But the only thing that actually changes that happening is if somehow Bitcoin is compromised in decentralization and security. Otherwise, everything I just said is inevitable over a long enough time frame. It'll reprice everything.